Hey guys, this is Carolyn with Finance Learning Lab, and in this tutorial, we're going to talk all about credits, how to process a credit, what a credit is, and I'm going to start sharing my screen and walk you through what to do if this situation happens. So in a perfect world, if you're running your small business, you would never run into credits, right? You would serve your customers would always be happy and smiley, nothing would ever go wrong, there would never be refunds, there would never be disputes, there would never be issues, and we would live in utopia. In reality, sometimes you're actually going to have to issue a credit to a customer. And so this can happen if you've invoiced. So let's pretend that you're a plumber. You've invoiced your client for some work, and then between your technician, the client, yourself as the owner, you kind of realize, all right, we charged this person $200, but we actually, for whatever unique situation that happened, we really only think that it should be $125. And so what are you going to do if the invoice has already been issued? How do you make sure that you don't get yourself into a whole bunch of problems or have this like lingering balance out there forever that makes it look like the customer still owes you money whenever you guys have kind of agreed that there's not? So we're going to deal with those situations. It's important to remember that credits can be full credits or can be partial credits. So really nothing more to that concept other than, if you charge someone $100, you might decide that, we're going to give a credit of $1, $2, $3, or the full $100, right? So your full versus partial is really just how much of the credit you're going to apply. So don't worry too much about how many of the dollar amounts are in there. We're going to walk you through step-by-step approach of what do you need to do, and it's just going to be the dollar amount that will change if it's full versus a partial credit in there. So if you're ready, let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen and walk you through what to do whenever what you hope never has to happen happens. All right, let's go. Okay, so here we are. I'm sharing my screen and I'm going to walk you through the steps we're going to do to actually apply a customer credit. Now, I'm using QuickBooks Desktop. You might be using a different version. You might be using QuickBooks Online. The specific version isn't going to matter as much as the concept and the process they're going to walk through. So QuickBooks is forever going to be changing and updating in different versions. I want you to kind of watch this for the overall concept and the process of what we're going through, and don't get too hung up if you have to press a slightly different button. So this is the main home screen that we're going to see on QuickBooks. And what we want to do is a credit. So we're actually going to go right down here to this item that says refund and credits. Now, if your version doesn't have something like that, what you're going to want to think is, okay, a credit has something to do with customers. So we could either double check on here and it'll take us to where we're going to enter the credit memo, or another way that you can access the exact same screen is, like I was saying, you go under customers and you're going to scroll down here until you see something that has to do with kind of these credit memo or refund. And if I double click on it, you're going to see that it actually brings me to the exact same screen. Now, this is a good chance to kind of talk about the distinction between a credit versus a refund. In day-to-day language, we refer to them as being the exact same, but in bookkeeping lingo, typically a refund is going to involve giving them actual cash. It's going to be that they've already paid the invoice and you're having to give them money back, whereas a credit is something where you have invoiced them and you are just saying, okay, you don't owe us that much money anymore, but there's not going to be anything that runs through a bank account. So this is going to be an example of what we call a credit. Remember, a refund, there's going to be cash going out the door through your bank account. A credit is just kind of forgiveness on an invoice that you had billed them for. So let's go under here and let's pretend that you have a credit for, let's say, Adwin Co. So this is going to be a list of your customers. Obviously, your customers will look a little different. You can kind of navigate over here and get a little bit of the history and a little bit of the sense. So we're seeing that Adwin has an open balance of, Adwin owes us $2,254. And it turns out that we had some kind of an arrangement with Adwin, and he said, you know what, I'm not willing to pay $2,254. I'm willing to spend, I want $1,000 off. So let's kind of go and look at what the previous invoice was. So this is the $2,254 that he owes us money for. We notice it's a pro workout. He actually purchased 5 of them, and they were workouts with pro hockey stars, and it was a one-time project. So, okay, interesting, good to kind of know
what it was that he purchased. And now we want to go ahead and give him a credit. So if you see up here, this is going to bring us back to the refund credit button. So I'm going to click on this and it brings us right back. So like we talked about, we could give him a full or a partial credit, and it's going to ask us if we try to go ahead now without populating the details, it's going to prompt us. So we're going to go down here and we're going to say it was for a pro workout. It's going to populate that for us, and we believe it was a one-time project, so we'll populate some of this. Oftentimes these details will be pre-populated for you. The system will actually automatically apply it, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So we're taking a quick look. We're saying, okay, it's Adwin's account. We are going to, oh, and look at that, it changed the amount. We actually want to give him $1,000 off. Let's try that one more time. And here we go. So you see that the GST got kind of calculated down here. We still see that he owes us $2,254, and that's okay because we haven't processed this transaction. So far, all we did is we entered data, but we didn't actually submit it to the system. So nothing has actually changed in the records until we press this button down here to save and close. So let's do that and let's just see what's going to happen. So it's going to ask us one of three different options. So this $1,000, we want to give it back. Do we want to apply it to an invoice? Do we want to give it as a refund? And remember, refund is going to be cash out the door. Or do we want to keep it on file as some kind of a record that he could use for something else in the future? And Adwin said, you know what? Nope, I just want this taken off of the invoice. I'll pay the remaining portion, so we're going to go with it. And you can see here it auto applied it to the same invoice we were referring to, the $2,254, and it gives us a chance just to look and say, does this look in order? And for us, it does. If for some reason it wasn't, these are editable, so we could click on here and we could change it. We could apply it to the specific invoices that we wanted, but in this case, the system actually correctly anticipated our needs. We're going to click done, and we're going to see here is essentially our transaction. So let's do a save and close here. Now, if you're processing a credit, it's probably something that you do pretty rarely, right? Or at least hopefully you do it fairly rarely. It's not kind of a day-to-day transaction. So when you do something like this, one, you probably have a customer that was slightly less than happy. Two, you're processing a credit, which is something you don't do very often. So I would recommend that you do an extra step just to give yourself comfort that, like, did everything get entered the way that I wanted to? So what you're going to do to check that is to go under statements. And what you'll want to do is you're going to choose, it'll probably populate for you with all customers. You're probably going to want to go down just to one customer, and you can select from the drop-down menu. We remember that ours was Adwin. And let's just go and click this preview button. And what we see here on this preview button is it's showing us, this is telling us it's Adwin's statement, and we're seeing that we had a balance for, do you remember that $2,254? We see that the credit memo that we created is credit memo 303, so it looks like it has been saved, it has been processed. We can see the amount that's showing up on here, and we'll recall that this is including the different taxes because we had entered $1,000, and we see the credit memo here is slightly higher. And at the very bottom, it's telling us how much Adwin now owes. So Adwin no longer owes us $2,254. Adwin owes us $1,124. And so this is a document you can print, or good chance for you to just fully close the loop with the customer, or just give everyone comfort to know that, yes, the credit has been applied. We have fully taken care of this situation. There's no more open loops involved. And that is how you process a credit.
Guys, I hope this video was helpful for you. We covered quite a bit of ground. Again, my name is Carolyn, and I would love to see you subscribe to the Finance Learning Lab YouTube channel. It would mean a ton to me. And please reach out if ever you're interested in joining some of our live small group programs.